Mr. Baina here and welcome to Concept Map Lectures, and today's episode will be about Introduction to Environmental Sustainability. We'll first have to look at the reality, and these are the environmental problems. The first one is water pollution. Here are some information that are related to water pollution in the country. About 36% of the river systems are already classified as public water supply. Therefore, these water or river systems are also utilized by the different industries for their processing in their production. And more than 50% of the groundwater in the country is already contaminated with coliform, and 31% of the illness were caused by waterborne sources. An example to water pollution is nutrient overload. This is usually caused by agricultural runoffs. The next is air pollution. There are about 45.3 deaths for every 100,000 of Filipinos. These are all related to air pollution according to WHO. This is actually the third highest in the world after China. These phenomena usually are concentrated in highly urbanized areas. An example to this air pollution is the urban air pollution. The next alarming problem is food security. People who are working in the agricultural sector in our country are more prone to hunger because of the low rural incomes. They lack the access to productive resources such as land and capital. They are also vulnerable to climate change, extreme weather events, pests, and diseases. One of the significant effects to food security is the clearing of our forest. The country's forests have declined from 12 million hectares way back in 1960s to only 5.7 million hectares at present. And the agricultural sector is one of the major causes of this decline. Another significant impact to food security is overfishing. Overfishing causes more species extinction, and the aquatic ecosystems will soon collapse. And one of the major impacts to food security is poor nutrition. The country ranks ninth in the world for most stunted children. That is, 1 in every children in this country is stunted. Stunting is actually caused by poor nutrition. Another significant environmental problem is population explosion. Population explosion started actually during the Industrial Revolution. Population explosion occurred during the Industrial Revolution because of the development of agriculture in the 18th century. This improved agricultural system which ended famines globally. So basically there is a constant food supply for every families to be fed. Let us take for example England. The population of England alone nearly tripled in 1750 to 1850. This industrial revolution transformed economies into large-scale industry, mechanizing the production and manufacturing. This is already the start of industries that are more productive and more efficient. And because of this, job opportunities were bringing people together into new urban cultures, crowding cities, and this is the start of the issue of environmental capacities in urbanized areas and cities. Another environmental problem is waste production. And in this country, the perennial problem is solid waste or solid waste management. The solid waste problem in this country is attributed to the different factors such as our habit to consume different goods, different products, and that includes purchase of online items. Another thing is that we produce so much plastic And the worst thing is that we lack the discipline to manage our waste. Another very significant environmental problem is biodiversity depletion. One of the major factors that causes this one is habitat destruction. Our population is one of the greatest pressure to biodiversity exploitation. And all we care is actually now, and we do not care of the future generation. So what causes environmental problems? Anywhere in the world, and especially here in the Philippines, there is no environmental cost that we add to the different services or products that we are selling in the market. This environmental cost should have been used for any environmental research, protection, and even conservation. Again, this environmental cost or amount should have been used for the maintenance of our environment, such as environmental monitoring, putting up of pollution control devices, and other sustainable projects of the government. Another significant factor is the unsustainable use of our resources. This is also known as wastefulness. The concept of wastefulness is actually a habit of using things carelessly or recklessly. Another factor is population growth. So generally, the Philippines has a population growth now of 2% in the entire country. But urbanization, like metropolitans, increase this population growth up to 10%. This will reduce the quality of life, including the living condition, and that is also associated with environmental degradation. Next is poverty, especially in the third world countries such as the Philippines, aggravate to pressure in the environment such as problem in sanitation, electricity or energy, the production of a clean and drinking water, healthcare situation, adequate housing condition, and most of all, nutrition. There is about 3.1 million homeless people who are now living in Manila, and this is the highest homeless population now in the world. And the last one is there is too little knowledge about how nature works. This is because people have different environmental views and they often disagree about certain environmental issues. And this is also true even to policymakers. And if this is the case, how can we create a sustainable and a much more unified solution to the common environmental problem? So what is the concept of an environmentally sustainable society? A sustainable society or community is one that meets the current and future basic resources needs of the people in just and equitable manner without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet also their basic needs. When we speak of the concept of an environmentally sustainable society, that includes the economy, the human life, and the dynamics of the society itself. All these three depend on the energy from the sun, which is also known as the solar capital. When we speak of solar capital, this is the energy of the sun, which drive or affects the wind pattern, which we will harness wind power, hydrological cycle, which we can also harness hydropower, and photosynthesis, that is affecting biomass production. Like solar capital, we also consider natural resources, that is also called natural capital. When we speak of natural capital, these are the stock inventory that our environment can provide as benefit for the people and for the economy. The basic natural capital includes the following: environmental assets, the ecosystem services, biodiversity, and natural resources. Now, going back to our society, this can become an environmentally sustainable if we consider the aspect of having an economic development without degrading Earth's life support system. By considering the four principles, which include solar energy, biodiversity, population regulation, and nutrient cycling. Now I'm going to talk about the different strategies of what should have been an environmentally sustainable society is. It is number one, protecting the natural capital. This is the solution to the depleting and degrading natural capital, which is already happening now in our environment. An environmentally sound society is mindful especially to waste prevention. Waste prevention could have been the solution to waste disposal, especially the bury and burn. Another strategy is population stabilization. Population stabilization is actually the solution to population growth. Population stabilization can be achieved through applying strategies that control unwanted fertility. An environmentally sound society is into environmental restoration. Environmental restoration is actually the solution to environmental degradation. That includes protection of the habitat, which is far more better than protecting several species in the environment. Pollution prevention is also another approach. This is far way better than pollution cleanups. And the last one is the use of lesser resources or maximizing resources. This is a solution to increasing resources used and wastefulness. An environmentally sustainable society can be achieved by applying the templates of the three pillars of sustainable development. The best way to look at sustainable development is looking at the interconnectedness between society, economy, and the environment. The first pillar is the environment. A truly sustainable society or development will look at environment to keep on operating and generating the conditions that allow for the quality of life to carry on with the modern standards of the society and even to its future generations. The economic condition of a sustainable society is that it has to include the improvements in the quality of life for many, but also decrease in the resources consumption. An example to this is that corporations have to offer competitive price, goods, and services that satisfies human needs, while reducing ecological impact in line with the Earth's carrying capacity. And finally, social or the community will require for the leaders for that society to design activities to meet human needs while preserving the life system of our planet. An example to this is the sustainable use of water. That political and social can become one to protect ourselves against detractors such as those capitalists and corruption. Sustainability maintains the health and biocapacity of the environment, which in turn supports the well-being of individuals and communities. Sustainability also promotes a better economy where there is little waste and pollution, fewer emissions, more jobs, and a better distribution of wealth.